I'm going to read some, first, a couple of poems from the Chinese. I see all these people with the 37 kinds of ambiguity don't like me at all. I'm a terrible guy. And I really am the fellow that writes like the great Greeks and Romans. I mean, I may not write very well, but that's the way I write. They write like some minor Jacobean Don at Cambridge, about 1630. Nobody ever heard of, unless you had a Ph.D. from Heidelberg. So I decided, well, I'm going to fool you guys. So I'm bringing out 100 Chinese poems. Of course, this isn't really the reason I wrote this book. Bringing out 100 Chinese poems, 100 poems the Greek and Latin, 100 French poems, 100 Japanese poems. That'll be out pretty soon. And 30 Spanish poems. I'm not like Bill. I'm not going to hide my light under a bushel. But anyway, what happened was that I didn't have a great deal to do. I mean, the spirit of genius was not blowing hard through my veins or the interstices of my head. And the thing to do when you feel like that is translate. Even old Ez says that the way you keep your hand in it is translation. I can't find what I want to write. This is by the Chinese poet Su Tung P'o, and it's called At Gold Hill Monastery. My native land is up there far away near the head of the river. Just a wandering bureaucrat, I have been sent to the spot where the river enters the sea. I have heard that here, 10 feet deep in the salt marsh, you can find traces of the sand still cold, which bubbled up in the Zhongling Spring high on the rocky plateau by the southern trail. I have come here following the currents and waves. Now high in the tower, I overlook the whole countryside. South of the river, north of the river, the blue mountains are without number. The beauty of the evening cannot overcome my sorrow. I re-enter my rowboat to return. The monks in their lonely monastery sit watching the setting sun. The gentle breeze over 10,000 acres makes a fine brocade of the waters. In the last rays of the twilight, the schools of fish flicker in the water. At this moment, out of the river, the material soul of the moon is born. Later, after the second watch, after the moon has set, the heavens are left in profound blackness. Then in the heart of the river, the basket torches of the fishermen gleam. Their lights come and go, shining against the sky and frightening the birds asleep on the water. I try to sleep, but my heart is troubled, my mind is distracted. Neither men nor ghosts come here. What is it then? Has the spirit of the river shown me a vision to warn me? Since the river mouth and the islands affect me so, I will not come again to this monastery. I thank the spirit of the river, but what good has it done? Just as its waters cannot return to their source, so I can never return to my native land. This is by Mei Yao Ch'en, who was the Secretary of State in Sung, China, roughly contemporary with Su Tung P'o. And imagine John Foster Dulles writing this poem, and you can see the difference between Chinese Sung civilization. A friend advises me to stop drinking. In my young days, I drank a lot of wine. There's nothing wrong with the love of drink. Now I am old, and my teeth and hairs are few and far between. I still love to drink, but I can't do it like I used to. Now when I drink, it upsets my stomach. There's not much pleasure in it. Today I got drunk and couldn't hold up my head. The room turned round and round. Seeking pleasure, I find only sickness. This is certainly not the way to care for my health. Maybe I should give it up altogether. I'm afraid people will laugh at me. Still, you say it'd be a good idea. There's not much pleasure in a sour stomach and a bad breath. I really know that I ought to stop. If I don't do it, I don't know what'll happen to me. This is another by Ma. I remember the blue river. The moon has a halo, there will be a wind. The boatmen talk together in the night. Dawn, a brisk wind fills our sail. We leave the bank and speed over the white waves. It is no use for me to be back here in the land of Wu. My dream and my desire are back in Chow. I dreamt that one day she would come with me on a trip like this. Now she is only dust. Last, I'll read one or two poems of some of the women poets of the Sung dynasty, the first women poets except one, who was more a historian than a poet, to play much of a role in Chinese literature, and still the best. But before that, it occurs to me I'll read. I can't find it. Yes, here it is. I'll read one by Liu Yi, who is one of the 3 or 4 best poets of the Sung dynasty. These translations, incidentally, are all of things that have never been in English, except for a considerable number by Du Fu, the Tang poet, who I'm not going to read. But all this Sung stuff has never been translated. This is called I Walk Out into the Country at Night. The moon is so high it is almost in the Great Bear. I walk out of the city along the road to the west. The damp wind ruffles my coat. Dewy grass soaks my sandals. Fishermen are singing on the distant river. Foxfires dance on the ruined tombs. A chill wind rises and fills me with melancholy. I try to think of words that will capture the uncanny solitude. I come home late. The night is half spent. I stand for a long while in the doorway. My young son is still up, reading. Suddenly he bursts out laughing, and all the sadness of the twilight of my life is gone.